Suppose you're a policymaker during the Great Depression. The economy looks bad. Unemployment is high, banks have failed, and a lot of people are experiencing a big drop in their standard of living. People are afraid that things might get worse, and it's their instinct to save money. Now, as a policymaker, you've got two problems. The first is this increase in household savings going to improve the situation or make it worse? You've got to figure out what's going on and what might happen. The second problem is, how would you persuade people in your economy to act against their instinct if that was in fact the best thing for them to do? This is where a model comes in. A model takes all of the chaos of life and tries to cut through irrelevant facts to focus on the most salient features of a problem, those things that really bear on what it is that you want to know and you want to control. A model does two things. First, it helps you understand the world better, and next, it acts as a teaching tool that can help you explain to someone else how cause and effect create a situation. We're going to begin now to build a model of the way the economy works. The thing we want to explain is the business cycle, the ups and downs of the economy, recessions, booms, increases in unemployment, boom times where jobs are plentiful. And we'd like to understand how interest rates, prices, output, all that stuff fits together so that we know how a change in the economic environment, maybe a policy change like a tax cut, is going to affect all of these variables. Is it going to increase our standard of living? Is it going to make it worse? And who's going to benefit and who's going to be hurt? And we want this model to be simple and clear enough that with a little bit of investment of time and attention, someone else could learn it so that then you could have an intelligent conversation with other people about policies that might improve life for people in your economy. So let's think then about the business cycle and where it comes from. We begin with a notion of the flow of goods and services in our economy, a circular flow diagram that we've developed earlier. Households, businesses, the government, foreigners spend money on goods and services. And the money that businesses get becomes household income. And in equilibrium, this circular flow has to be such that spending equals income. That means any leakages from the circular flow, savings or taxes, has to be re-injected in the form of spending by government, businesses, or foreigners. Now, let's begin to build a model by thinking about the difference between the nominal economy and the real economy. The nominal economy is the world of prices and money. The real economy is the world of goods and services. The picture, as I've drawn here, is a picture of real flows, people actually spending on stuff, and everything in this picture is measured in terms of actual physical goods and services. That is, when you draw this circular flow diagram, you have held prices constant. I'm going to begin to build my macroeconomic model by asking, how will a change in the price level, an increase in the consumer price index, for instance, how will it affect the circular flow? How is it going to affect people's behavior and either expand or shrink the real economy? Suppose the price level goes up. Let's think about everyone in this picture who's going to be affected by that. First of all, households. Households have savings accounts, and these savings accounts are usually measured in nominal terms. That is, I've got $10,000 in the bank. When the price level goes up, my $10,000 will buy less. Therefore, I feel poorer. And because I feel poor, I may reduce my consumer spending. And when I reduce consumer spending, economic activity begins to shrink. Another thing that can happen is when the price level goes up, the money supply in the economy, the fixed amount of money that the Federal Reserve has printed and put into circulation, that fixed amount of money will now pay for less shopping because price tags are reflecting bigger numbers. So the fixed money supply now doesn't go nearly as far to doing your shopping, and people are scrambling to get more cash. The increased demand for money pushes up the interest rate and makes businesses less likely to spend. A second effect. A third effect is higher prices in our economy deter foreigners from buying our goods and services. They'd just as soon buy in another economy where prices haven't risen. So the effect on the exchange rate, that is the relative price of U.S. goods relative to goods abroad, then shows up with decreased foreign spending. once again shrinking economic activity. This is the beginning of a model, the price level and its influence on the real economy. We can summarize the effect of the price level on the real economy in a curve that we call the aggregate demand curve. The aggregate demand curve looks at aggregate expenditure as a function of the price level. Aggregate expenditure is the sum of all of the components of spending in the economy: consumer or household spending, business spending or investment, government spending, and foreign spending or net exports. Add all of these up and you get aggregate total spending in the economy, which in equilibrium is equal to income. Let's look at the aggregate demand curve, which shows aggregate planned spending as a function of the price level. And let's see how we can represent that. Well, we've already talked about how the relationship between the price level and income is going to be negative. That is, when the price level goes up, there are three channels through which higher prices lead people to want to spend less money. The first is households feel like they're poor because of the shrinking of their savings, purchasing power. The second is increased demand for money pushes up interest rates and deters business spending. And the third is that higher prices deter foreign spending as foreigners look for bargains in other countries. All of that says then that a higher price level leads to lower aggregate spending, which in equilibrium leads to a lower income level. Now, this is just the first step in the creation of a model that's going to help us predict when income is likely to increase, creating a boom, and when it's likely to fall, and what's likely to happen to employment and interest rates along the way. But this first step is important because what we're doing is identifying those factors that are likely to be important in building an explanation. And in this case, what we've said is the price level is important. The price level, a nominal variable, interacts with other nominal variables like savings and the money supply to influence people's behavior. And once real spending starts to change, there's going to be an effect on output in the economy and all of the other variables that depend on it. So now we're going to look in greater detail at this aggregate demand curve, what causes a movement along it, and what might cause a shift in it.